What's good, beautiful people? Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I am Mrs. Best. Our friendly, smiling, waving gentleman is our co-host, James, from the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel.
Hey. Like, comment, and subscribe. Show my girls some love.
I appreciate that. I hope y'all do show some love because I had to put up with this foolery. But the Housewives of Miami, I'm actually enjoying recapping it so far because there's a lot to talk about. And they kind of give me the positive nostalgia of how Housewives used to be. Just a bunch of chicks who's rich, a couple of them trying to pretend to be rich. And the drama is funny. Now, tonight irritated my soul. Julia did too much. We just gonna say that off the rip. Hi, Dimples on Demand. Thank you for being here, girl. Kevin Reynolds, always a joy to see you. He said, hi, I was utterly disgusted with this episode. Julia is an uncover Karen along with Martina, no longer riding the fence with Kiki. She never settled right with me, and I saw her for her works this episode. I think we're going to have a lot of similar opinions. I think most Black people with common sense will probably have similar opinions around this episode because I was really annoyed with Julia as a whole as well. I am so sorry, you guys. My dad started calling me. I will call him back. But we start this episode with Marisol and this man. All I want to know, y'all, I'm happy that Marisol has love. Her relationship seems genuine. It does. But why are y'all just now getting legally married? But you've been having weddings. I don't get it. It's a very strange situation to me. But I'm going to just leave that there. James, how did you feel about the show starting, letting us know they're going to be getting legally married?
I feel like, why wasn't that the first thing y'all did? Before having... People do things in weird orders these days. They really do. Because that doesn't make any sense to me. If anything, y'all should have got legally married first and then got married.
Yep. But okay. Hey, okay. It's her choice. The lavender marriage. I love it. I think Kevin Reynolds, I think that Facebook is suggesting to you to me as a friend, but I didn't accept it because I didn't know it was you. But now I'm looking at your picture and I'm like, it might be you. So I'm going to add you. Random. Anywho, we move on to Alexia crying some more about Todd. Listen, and she speaks about how, people that are close to her kids and all of this are impacted. If my kids are impacted, I don't care if they're 44 or 4. I'm not going to stay with somebody who's impacting me like that. I'm not going to stay with somebody who could just abandon my kids like that. It's cruel and unusual of him to do, but it seems like he's been moving this way for a while and she's been okay with it. And I'm tired of this. I'm a weak woman. I'm waiting for him to come and tell me what he wants. Girl, woman up and get rid of this man. I'm tired of hearing her cry about it. But she's going to surprise Marisol for her wedding. And while she's, planning for the little surprise event for Marisol, she gets a phone call from Lisa on the FaceTime. And Lisa informs Marisol Lisa informs Alexia that her father has passed away. Now, we know in a previous episode that Lisa's father was sick. They were rebuilding their relationship. She had a lot of resentment towards him because he was an alcoholic. I always feel for anybody who loses a parent because even people who swear they don't care, swear they're mad, swear they have a valid reason to hold a grudge against their parents, feel pain when they pass. So I do offer condolences to her. I'll just leave that there for now. James, did you want to add anything?
No, we can move on.
Okay. Now, we get to the wedding day, and I thought it was cute that Marisol and Steve was rolling around on that little motorbike or motorcycle, whatever the hell it was. She said Alexia is the Teresa of, that makes sense. She must just need a man. Tell me if I'm reading that right. Because Teresa, it don't matter. If you're a boyfriend, you'll be her husband. She did it with Joe. She did it with that red lobster that she's with now. I mean, that's not good. I could see it, though. I could really see it. That's a damn shame. Anywho, their reasons for getting married, Marisol and Steve say, is because Marisol's mother's passed away. It's put some things into perspective. And her and Steve realized that they want to have things in order if once something happens to the other. So they decided to actually legalize the marriage. It's an odd reason, but they rode off to the courthouse or not even to the courthouse, it looked like some legal office, and they got their marriage done. So congrats to them. I will say though, everybody likes to make marriage like either something that's holy and religious or something that's like necessary. And honestly, it's a little bit of both, but sometimes it is beneficial to get married to somebody because you have no say so as it relates to HIPAA. You got to go through more just to be informed if something happens to your spouse. So, you know, if anything, if you really care about your person, it's enough to do that paperwork so that if something happens to them, you have a say so, you have a right to be informed. I mean, that's just me, but
a lot of people don't think like that. And I think that's what's so unfortunate about, people seeing marriage as like a piece of paper when it's much more than that. Like, there's nothing worse than you spending years upon years upon years upon someone and something should unfortunately happen to them. And you can't even make the medical decision of whether or not they live or die, but that has to be left up to a relative, like a child or their parents or their siblings, who probably are not in their lives as much as you are. So there's nothing worse than that when that person is your everything. And that just goes to show you how much a person cares about you, especially if you've been with them for a substantial amount of years and you can't even make the decisions of the final days of earth. Like, that's crazy. They don't trust you enough to do that.
Yeah, it didn't make no sense. That was a very good point. Carrying on like Danny and Sandra D riding motorcycle on their wedding day. Yeah, that was a very good point. I guess I would care more if they didn't have constant weddings, but maybe that's just me. Moving forward, Julia and Adriana meet up. I don't know why Adriana is like, they don't seem to mess with her too much, just from my perspective, but they meet up and Julia throws shade about Adriana not reaching out to her. The same way that I guess she felt about Gertie. And Julia immediately tries to make the issue as soon as Adriana was like, okay, well, I'm gonna hold you accountable too. You haven't reached out to me. The phone worked both ways. And I loved Adriana for that. And she then, Julia tries to make it about the adoption. She's like, people like this should not adopt. I'm surprised they were able to adopt as old as they are. And I'm not trying to be shady, but age is a thing, especially with kids. I'm just saying.
I don't think that's shady at all because you're absolutely right. I think that there is a stigma of, when it comes to adopting a kid, it should never be too late. However, there's a lot of factors that go into that. They look at your health records. You're more prone to have more health issues in an older age than you would be a younger age. And then also there's trying to encourage younger adults, especially the ones that are having hard times conceiving right now, to adopt. And I don't know why a lot of young kids don't do that. Like, especially if you're having a hard time. I get it's not the same thing, but at the same time, if you have a lot of love to give to a child, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah. But Julia, I feel like she has the love to give, but I also feel like she's going to use these children as a crutch and to get away with things. And I'm sick of it because they're not a storyline. It should be just the love. But Adriana points out to Julia that she didn't like how Adriana and Julia have their own friendship. And she didn't like how, instead of telling Adriana separately, like, hey, the adoption went through and she was able to adopt her children, she was told in a group chat with everybody. And it was almost like Julia just wanted to have a fucking moment, which is what I'm starting to see, because everybody had an issue with the way that she told everybody about this. But it's interesting that when Adriana explains her issue with how she told people and her expectations of Julia as a friend and feeling let down, that Julia can kind of sit there and listen to it. But when Gertie is trying to explain herself and is actively trying to be there for you, you want to go and attack her. So I'm looking at Julia like, you don't make any sense. You adopted these kids, so don't expect everybody else to throw a fucking picnic or a party for you. That was your choice to adopt these kids. It's weird that she wants the energy. But if Adriana really supported you through the adoption process, why would you announce it to her like she's just one of the extras too? So no matter what way you look at it, Julia ain't shit. She ain't. And Adriana told no lies. None. Kevin Reynolds said, how is it Julia and Martina, who look like grandparents, adopt 2 Black kids, yet they are Karens? Them be the people who
I was going to say,
will adopt a lot of Black kids, and they think because they've adopted a child of color that absolves them of racism, and it doesn't work that way. I think a good public example is Colin Kaepernick, the dude who was kneeling at the Super Bowl. There was a documentary about his life because he was adopted by Black parents or by white parents, and there was a disconnect when he got to teen years because he wanted to connect with culture, and they just did not understand his perspective, did not understand the things that he went through. So I encourage people to always look into that. But Julia and them ain't shit. We know that. And Martina scares me. Say what I said. But did you have anything to add to their meeting, Julia and Adriana, James Jackson?
No, we can move on.
Okie dokie. So Kiki and Gertie are stretching, and it's crazy. Kiki, you thin as hell, tall as hell. You should be more flexible than that. But Gertie is saying good things about Alexia, checking on her and things of that nature. And then she learns, because Kiki's messy as hell, and I'm side-eyeing Kiki. I do not like Kiki no more. She's the example of what Garcelle said to Bose and her big-ass hair. Not all skiv folk. Y'all know the rest. That is Kiki for real. But Kiki decides to be messy and tell Gertie that, well, you're over here praising Alexia and she didn't invite you to your dinner because she didn't want you to make it about her. And I don't know. I didn't like that because through Kiki's mouth, Gertie also learns that Julia's been speaking about her pretty much behind her back to all of the women, speaking negatively. And it sounds like now Julia's complaining about another issue where something went wrong with Martina. And because Gertie was friends with Julia, she called Gertie and was like, can you come? Gave no explanation. Gertie still stopped what she was doing after unpacking and came to support Julia, which made me like, okay, so what is the problem? But I did not like in the conversation, because we already know we'd be beating, a dead point. We already know that Julia is wrong. But what I didn't like and thought people needed to pay attention to in this scene was Kiki. Because why are you telling your only other Black cast member that she is aggressive? It's one thing if she's like, the group feels you're aggressive, but to be like, hey, you're not listening, like you're being this, like, don't paint her that way on TV. Don't do it. Please, Kiki. You're the one I would expect not to. So I'm starting to look at Kiki with the side eye because of that scene. But how did you feel about it, James? Do you think I'm off?
I don't think you're off. I just think this is where I get frustrated with Black people who turn against other Black people just to appease some white people. Because it is so crazy to me. And like I said, the Bose situation is so fitting. Because one, it's like we were pissed at Bose when she did that. Exactly. We were pissed at Bose but the thing about me is I didn't see that coming. Sorry, I mean the cookie. I need sugar. Because I'm falling asleep here. But no, it's one of those things where I just don't like when Black people do this. Especially Black women. Like, come on. Show some solidarity to some degree and stop trying to make it seem like you're just it's better to appease these people and go against your other sister versus being on your sister's side and saying, look, behind closed doors, I'm going to confront you, but right now I got your back. Let's go. That's what I want to see. It's solidarity. Is that too hard?
Apparently it is. Apparently it is. And Kiki tries to be slick with it, but I see her. That's why all of her wigs look like they don't fit. But let me get the comments before we don't laugh at me, James, before we move forward. Kevin said, after Martina made comments about the Williams sisters, I knew then that Julia was another Karen, yet this Karen has Martina, another Karen, as her cash cow. Yeah, of course. And the Williams sisters speak about the heavy racial issues they've dealt with just trying to play tennis. Yeah, of course. I love that you brought that up. I love it. Not also Kiki gives 304 vibes. She does. She's that chick in Miami that's probably sat on every Tom, Dick, Harold, Gerald.
You understand Miami? That's what Miami is about. Look out like it. Sorry, yeah.
No, don't choke now.
Yeah. No, but that's what Miami is about. It's all about living life and using, your hoe to get to where you need to go. That's just really what it is. It's as I said, ask Estelita. She got a whole condo from an old ass white man, allegedly. So trust me, it wouldn't surprise me for Kiki to have, 304 vibes and to reap the benefits of, because you see it all the time, especially go to Blue Martini. You see a 100-year-old man with a 25-year-old girl and just think, well, what the hell is going on here? That's just what it is. I lived there, so I know.
Well, child, Kiki, we don't like you. But moving forward, we get to Lisa. Y'all, I can't stand Lisa. I think Lisa irks me a lot more than Larsa. Because Larsa, I kind of know to expect bullshit. But with Lisa, I just keep hoping for something different and I'm not getting it, but I'm sick of her. But Lisa's reminiscing about her father who recently passed. She speaks about the alcoholism and how that caused a disconnect in their relationship. She says she wishes she had more time with him, even though an episode ago she said, my dad is dying, but I've got to live my life, so I'm going to go to Milan. It felt performative. I'm not going to lie. Y'all can cancel me, feel how you feel. I don't really give a fuck if my opinion is my opinion, but her reaction to it seemed performative because you just said to us, you didn't care that he was dying. You still got to live your life. Now that he's gone, you're feeling away. I'm not doubting that she's grieving the loss of her dad, but it was just weird. It was a weird scene, especially with Jody on that bed. They're weird. They're creepy to me.
It was. I
feel like they were at a Diddy party or four. I do. They give that energy.
Like Kevin Reynolds said, Lisa is insufferable, beyond shallow, and selfish as fuck. And I 100% agree with that because at the end of the day, ma'am, you could have been there with your father and had the time that you needed to maybe get some closure, because maybe he would have gave you what he was looking for, or maybe would have gave you something that would have allowed your move on from him to be a little bit more suitable for you. But the problem is that you can't see past your own fucking nose. And that's your problem. And that's been her problem for as long as we've seen her on this show. Mm-hmm. So I was annoyed with that. Just because, I also am someone who felt like I had more time with my father, but I made sure to be there at every step of, his final days. And unfortunately, my father died 2 weeks before he was, I guess denounced that he was supposed to be. The doctor made kind of like this stamina that he was supposed to go the weekend of Juneteenth and actually ended up going 2 weeks before that. So I thought I was going to see my father take his last breath, and I didn't because I had to work. So I still beat myself up about that. But at the same time, I was there in the previous times. I made sure to be there as much as I could. So for her to sit up there and say, I needed to live my life, so I'm going to choose this opportunity versus being with my father in his last days. I don't need you now, an episode later, to start crying about how you should have been there when you could have been there. Because the designer really didn't give a fuck about you. So you didn't have to be there. So there.
I agree with that. And we shall leave that there. You guys, the next thing we see is Kiki take her daughter to the Museum of Ice Cream. They had that here in San Francisco, and I really feel like people just went for the ice cream. But it was her child is dedicated to chocolate. That little girl was not playing. She is dedicated to chocolate. She talks to her mom, who's there with her because she's Haitian, so they care for their parents and things of that nature. They speak they reminded me of Amara La Negra and her mom because they spoke about how Kiki's dad treated her mom really bad, disappeared when she was a teenager. She didn't talk to him for 10 years now. She's speaking to him. He's going to be coming from Haiti. Not much happened there. I don't really have much to say about it. That little girl was like demanding chocolate like no other. Really quick, I'll catch the comment before getting James's opinion. Kevin Reynolds said Lisa is the same person who killed us with Lenny, yet this year she could care less for the next person. Another YouTube blogger mentioned she is worse off camera. They know from personal. Oh,
that's terrible.
Oh God. Oh. But how did you feel about me and her kid?
Which Kevin Reynolds just said. That's exactly how I feel. That's funny, but one things I learned about Haitian communities is that they are truly separate but equal, and truly there or apart. There's not really much in between. So when you see things like this, where this is, trying to understand the culture and everything like that, it's very much, it's more so given Flo and her family than it is Marla Negra and her family. I get the dynamic is more similar to Marla Negra and, her mama, but honestly, it really gave me more so the dynamic of Flo and her family. In which I just saw her and Marla just bought a house together on social media. Different show, I know, but you covered though.
Oh Lord, but yeah, I really don't like Kiki, you guys. I really don't like Lisa. I want them both to go. I want Julia to go as well, and I want them to like add other people, but they got to be real careful because you don't want to disrupt something that's working. Child looks nothing like Kiki. Must be the white cheese.
Oh.
That was true compared to the first one.
Yeah, it is true. But I'm just kind of like, damn, I didn't want to say it like that.
It's true. It's clear as day. It is clear as day. But I don't really know too much or remember much about Kiki. So
I don't either. That's why I was like,
the child's daddy. Like, what's going on?
Right.
What's going on? Moving forward, the group comes together for the wedding event that Alexia threw for Marisol, and Kiki's messy ass tells the group when they all come together at the event that Gertie thinks that Julia is trying to brainwash people. That's not something you just announce in front of everything with the person right there. I'm like, Kiki, why are you setting Gertie up to fail? I feel like Kiki is doing what Julia is doing, coming for Gertie for like a storyline, but in a way that's less obvious than Julia. And I don't like that because it doesn't make any sense. And then Marisol comes on before I can even process what Kiki has done. And she's wearing an eye patch, talking about she got a sty in her eye. Whenever people tell me that, I'm just like, y'all, sunglasses exist, sanitizer exists. Like, wash your face when you come home so that you don't sleep with whatever in the air has touched you. Okay, but to put an eye patch on, girl, just stay home.
I agree. And that's something I also got a lot when I was in South Florida. I used to get styes a lot, which is crazy because I've never got them in Phoenix or in the Bay Area. I moved to Florida and I got them. I had one at least once every 2 to 3 months.
It's probably the humidity.
Yeah.
It's probably because Arizona's hot, but it's dry heat. It's that humidity.
Mm-hmm. And they were painful as a motherfucker. When I tell you,
I cannot. Kevin said now it makes sense why Kiki's dad kicked her out. He called it and saw her 3 or 4 ways. I'm just saying.
Damn, Kevin Reynolds, you ain't letting your foot up off that lady's neck. Lord,
Kevin is telling not one lie though, because if you think back to Garcelle, who's also from has family from Haiti, she said her dad was strict as hell too. Them Haitian dads do not be playing, it seemed like. So hey, he's probably right. It's probably exactly what it is. But the group gathers. Larsa is trying to explain what happened with Jody from the previous episode between her, Jody, and Lisa in Milan. They made peace, and then the episode ended showing Jody basically throwing a bitch fit, it sounded like, because Lisa and Larsa made peace. She had a picture of Jody where she's like, he was so mad, his eyes were big. I'm like, so you were so concerned that someone was so mad and enraged that their eyes were big that you felt it to be appropriate to go and snap a picture of them in a dark club, indicating you likely used flash. And then I'm looking at the picture and I'm like, okay, maybe this is something that the colorless like experience that I can't see, because I was looking at the picture, like it wasn't a great picture, but it just looked like they caught a picture of him when he wasn't looking and was just like staring off elsewhere, because it wasn't even looking in her direction if you look at his eyeballs in the photo. So I'm like, this was like classic old Housewives, because it's like, this is so stupid. This gave Sheree. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I was about to say it. I was saying.
So when did you take the picture? Spring, summer, fall. Spring, summer, fall. That's when I took the picture. Like, what? Like,
it's very lazy. It's like,
why did she even take a picture of him?
This is ridiculous. It was so stupid. It was like, what the fuck is that going to do?
Larsa don't have shit to talk about.
I'm trying to tell you, ain't got a storyline today, and all she did for is dating young ass men that are the same age as her children, or maybe even younger.
Yep, that's about it. I wonder if Scotty watches this show. Anyway, moving forward. Let me see where I'm at, y'all. I lost my space in my notes and I'm all sorts of tired. But the picture, Larsa says she's concerned for Lisa. She thinks that Jody is coming for Lisa for her money. She thinks Jody's too controlling. Production tried to sow some receipts. I'm not invested in Larsa and Lisa's beef. I don't care for Larsa. I don't care for Lisa. I'm not invested in this beef. It's stupid. These are like 40 or plus year old women. Grow up. Kevin Reynolds said, there goes Larsa insinuating Jody does snow. Knowingly, Larsa has done it too. Hence why she's bothered Jody and Marcus are friends. Yeah, clearly. I stand by that. Just like Brittany Cartwright on The Valley. Ain't no way you crying, oh, he was doing coke. You was doing it right there with him, ho. You was doing it right there with him. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. But this whole moving on from Larsa and them, because they get on my nerves. James, did you want to add anything to Larsa and Lisa?
Yeah, Larsa get on my nerves too, so we can move on.
So Julia got weird and animated, and I appreciated Gertie for pointing out, number one, Gertie has great discernment. Number two, thank you for pointing out the obvious. These heifers, as Kiki told Gertie, have been painting Gertie out to be someone overly animated who does too much. And Julia's weird ass is jumping up, entertaining, taking over the party that's not about her. Then there was this moment where Marisol and Steve kiss, and it was just awkward as hell to see Julia be like, oh my God, I love it when you guys kiss. I love it. While standing right over them. Bitch, if you don't get the fuck up out my ear, get up off my man. What is going on? Like, Julia is weird to me. She's extremely weird. So while Julia is acting a fool, the group decides to call Julia over to attempt to have Julia talk with Gertie about their issues. As soon, and when I say to y'all, as soon as Julia came over there and they started the conversation, she immediately snapped at Gertie before they could even talk barely. And, you know, Julia pretty much goes off, loses it, continues to go off on Gertie, screaming, hollering, doing all this stuff. And Gertie's like, look at you, you're snapping. We just started, you're acting like a hyena. Then Julia goes and acts further like a hyena, hollering. I'm just like, what is wrong with this bitch? What's wrong with her? Something's wrong with her. I'm telling you. But things end up getting heated. Now, Gertie does try to walk away. And I was annoyed because Kiki is trying to separate the two, but Kiki's putting Julia in the room and it's like trying to separate Gertie and calm her down elsewhere. And Gertie's like, why are you trying to calm me down? I'm not the one acting up. That's her, which is the truth. It was the truth. It was the truth. When I say the microaggressions and those racial biases that were negative were showing, that shit was showing, it irked my soul because Gertie's sitting there calm, barely yelled back, and Martina's running around hollering, and everybody's looking at Gertie like she's the problem. So Gertie and them end up coming back to sit down because she refuses to leave. And Gertie explains to the group that she was there for Julia in the situation that happened with Martina. She says that she was not aware that Martina was having an emergency surgery due to her cancer. I believe Gertie because she's been providing receipts. Julia snaps and throws a drink of water onto Gertie. But she also kind of threw the drink of water onto Kiki. And if you pay attention, she looked scared to do it. It looked like she second guessed herself because she didn't quite have the cup and she looked at it and then decided, okay, I'm going to pick it up and I'm actually going to do this, which I did not like. But Julia is foul and wrong. If a Black woman were to throw a drink on her, she would make it a big damn deal. She still, in the confessional, tried to make it seem like she was somebody who was pushed to a point versus being accountable for her actions. A Black woman could never act that way. And I do love that Gertie stayed there instead of leaving. Kiki was like, well, I'm leaving. Okay, bitch, then leave. You wear your wig. Because that's giving this white woman what she wants. Let's just keep it a buck. Julia got even madder when she saw that Gertie did not leave the event. So I feel like she did this thinking that she could run Gertie out of there and it didn't work. I feel like Gertie was smart with her discernment and paid attention to what's what. And I'm not surprised at this cast being Karens. I'm just not, based on one, culture, and two, where they're from and the state that they live in. What surprised me, that bothered me this whole episode, was Kiki's response to stuff. Like, I really feel like as Black people, we should stick up for one another, stick beside one another. I was riding the BART a week or two ago going to work and dealt with some racial discrimination on the train because we got a lot of people from other places moving to California, fucking up the vibe. But some Black man stood up for me, just randomly, talk about we just got to stick together. That's what it should be, not what Kiki's doing. So I was really annoyed. James, how'd you feel about it?
I was really annoyed too because it kind of makes me feel like, once again, we are the minority, not really, but in Bravo land, because some of them pass for white women. We are the minority here. And instead of us linking together, why are you leaving me out to dry? And you see that everybody is wrong, or at least you try not to see it, but you do see it. It's like, have my back. I've done nothing. Gertie she has done nothing this entire season. But yet and still, she got people that want to attack her because she's an easy target for them. And I'm glad that Gertie's not giving them the energy that she, really could give them. She's taking the high road. She's showing receipts. Every episode, Gertie is over here posting something about an episode. And I would too. Because because if she does get angry, then they're going to pigeonhole her as the angry Black woman, which would prove the point that they're trying to make, that they can't get out of her. Because that's all this is. That's all this is. And as I said, Kiki is the person that you just going to let the shit happen. Versus standing up and saying, hey, she ain't doing nothing. Y'all leave her alone. Why are y'all bullying her? Call them out. Call out the microaggressions. Call out everything. Why is this not happening? So, yeah, that's why I'm annoyed with this episode, because I feel like we could be calling things out and sticking together versus what we're doing now.
Okay. I agreed with that. Let's get into the comments before we go. This episode has exposed the majority of this cast as Karens. I agree. On another note, I find it weird that Julia wants to be close to Alexia, who once referred to Russian women as prostitutes. The hell? Oh, God. Yes, Kiki's actions this episode were very telling and not in a good way. They were. She's for her money. She's for a check. She doesn't care. All money ain't good money. And I think that Kiki will learn that the hard way. But Gertie is handling herself beautifully. And I wish that they would hire women like Gertie for Housewives of Beverly Hills or Housewives of Salt Lake City. Like, bring us some housewives of color that know how to interact and how to conduct themselves around women who are not of color. Because the way that Gertie handled this without going off, rolling her neck, doing the most, she sat there and dried off from the water, did not leave. I think she handled herself well. Personally, I'm not that delivered yet. I would have threw the drink, the glass, and the chair at that bitch. But Gertie is better.
She'll make you do that, though. She'll make you come out of character. You got to be a strong person to deal with somebody like that. You do.
If somebody throws something on me or throw something at me, spit on me, it's up. Like, I'm not going to be able to control my response because I'm going to feel violated. So the fact that Gertie was able to do that is magical. I can't wait for the reunion. Julia's going to have a hard time. Or Bravo's going to do her like they do Teresa's and Kyle's and Heather's. And, she'll get away with it. But Julia, I don't think anybody will like you. And your wife too old to get back on the tennis court. So, it is what it is. But that was it, you guys, for this live. I do appreciate everybody for being here. I appreciate you, James, for being here when you're sleepity-deepity. We will be back on my channel. What day is that? Tuesday for Basketball Wives.
Yeah.
But over the weekend, we will be on James's channel. I know he has a live on Sunday for Somebody's Son in Next Gen NYC, and he also has other lives. So see the link in the description. Subscribe to his channel so that you don't miss anything. But other than that, I appreciate all of you and hope you like the video. Let me see. I missed the comment. I get why the women are trying to ice out Gertie, being that Dr. Nicole is not on this season. I knew that would happen as well. It's clear, but they're exposing themselves in a way that people aren't going to be okay with. But we shall see, won't we? Anywho, you guys, thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.
Adios.